Hello, everyone. Welcome to our fourth Spring Quarter Tech Bootcamp Demo Day, second virtual. We have done two of those on campus, and this is the second virtual demo day. The first virtual demo day was last fall. So welcome, everyone. I have a short agenda. I'd just like to give you a general overview of the format of the bootcamp. And then introduce the coaches and the committee, as well as the judges. So let's get started. So just a brief overview of the bootcamp format. For those of you who are not familiar with our tech bootcamps and the YTP program, I'll just give you just a short introduction. And then also the committee and the judges, as well as the coaches, the speakers, and session experts. And then we'll start with the team pitches. We have 4 teams. Each team will present for 20 minutes, and I'll be timing the presentations, and then they'll have 10 minutes for judges Q&A. So each team's total is 30 minutes. And then we'll have a break. In the meantime, the judges will deliberate, and they have the criteria already, and they'll be deliberating in the breakout room about the presentations, and then make a decision on the winning team. And then we'll announce the winner, and then we'll have closing remarks at the end. Just some housekeeping. The chat is disabled because we don't want students to be disrupted with the chat notices coming through. Also, please stay on mute during the presentations, just to block any background noise and interruptions for the students. So our bootcamps are 6 weeks in duration. We meet 6 times during the quarter, and they are all connected sessions. The students work on building a solution. It could be an app, it could be a product, could be analysis, could be research, could be any one of those. And all the sessions are connected, and the students work in teams comprised of 7 students per team, comprised of various backgrounds. Some are, we have MBA students in teams, we have non-STEM majors, we have STEM majors, we have engineering, we have all kinds of majors and backgrounds in the student teams. Some have technical backgrounds, some don't have technical backgrounds. So the students who don't have technical background work on the product definition, product or project management, and the marketing aspect or the analysis aspect of it. And this technical students work on building the product. Each team has a coach from the industry. We have 4 coaches. We have 4 teams. Each team has a coach who works with the team with the students throughout those 6 weeks. Actually, the duration of the bootcamp is 9 weeks. We had 6 weeks of actual sessions. We met every Wednesday from 6:30 to 8:30 for 6 weeks, and then the students have 3 weeks after that to actually build and complete their solutions. During those 6 sessions, we brought in speakers for each session to cover topics in kind of both hard skills and soft skills. Topics like how to pitch, how conflict resolution. We had data analytics. We had UX. So various topics that we brought as speakers who would present at the very beginning of the session for 30 minutes, and then the presentations are very engaging. They would engage the students in exercise and activities. In addition to the speakers, we also had session experts. So session experts do not present, but they actually work with the students in their area of expertise. So we had 4 session experts this quarter covering the areas of health tech, smart city tech, clean tech, and ed tech, because those are the themes that the students were working on. So session experts were brought in to cover those 4 areas. And then today we have a demo day. This is the day, this is kind of the commencement. This is the day when the students will be presenting their final solutions to us, to the judges, and to the attendees. So that's kind of the format. The students communicate via Slack. The coaches are on Slack, and there's tons of traffic in Slack that I monitor, and it's exciting to see that students are using current tools, industry tools led by the coaches, guided by the coaches. So it's really an exciting experience for those who want to, if in the future want to become a coach. please reach out to me. I want to thank the planning committee. The planning committee is a small committee. I chair the committee, and I'm also on the board of Innovative UCLA, representing the student programs. And actually, most of the, other than the students, most of the community members have been with us for several iterations of the bootcamp. So Adrian and Bill represent the campus. Each person has a role in the committee. Adrian and Bill represent the campus. They help us to promote the program at the campus level. And Adrian works for the Career Center, and Bill is on our board, and he represents the School of Engineering. Shaheen and Isabel are from the private sector. Shaheen works for Sony Pictures, and Isabel works for Avery Dennison. And they basically help us, again, with speakers, with topics. Shaheen, for example, last quarter helped us to connect with an AWS trainer who helped the students to provide AI and ML training to the students, in addition to the weekly sessions. Isabel has helped us to get speakers from Avery Dennison and from her network. She helped us to get the speaker this quarter, Aaron Griffin, to present design thinking. Heidi and Ashley are students. Heidi is in the EMBA Executive MBA program, and Ashley is an undergraduate in linguistics and computer science. And they basically help us to connect to the student community. So they help us with the social media outreach, at the student clubs, student events, and those types of network. And one of the things that they helped us to do this quarter is they helped us put together a spreadsheet of all these connections, of all these contact information all across campus, so we can reuse that for next quarter, and we don't have to go and search for these channels every quarter. So thank you to the planning committee. Adrian has been with us almost from the beginning. Shaheen has been with us from the beginning, and really, I mean, almost as committee members, we met every Wednesday in the evenings, and they took time out of their personal life to meet and to organize and plan these boot camps. So thank you so much. Judges, we'd like to thank our judges. We have 6 judges, again, representing different areas, public sector, the private sector, and academia. So we have Nasim Braham from Gartner. I connected with Nasim about a year ago. She works with UCLA, and we are glad to have her today. We have connected about how we can have Gartner basically help the students. And actually I provided that information to the students to help them with their research, because since UCLA has a subscription to Gartner, so there's a lot of good information, and that was shared to the students so it will help them with their research. Kevin Gray is the CIO of City of Burbank. He's on our executive board, Innovative UCLA executive board, and he has actually judged before. He's a former judge when we had an in-person demo day. And Kevin is wonderful, and he's really very knowledgeable about the public sector, and we thank him for coming back and judging again. Deanna Evans is also a former judge. She is the executive director of Startup UCLA. So she represents UCLA. And if you're not familiar with Startup UCLA, it's basically, you can take your projects that you're working on today, and you can, probably the next step is to take it to Startup UCLA, to make it happen, to get funding or connect with industry leaders, if that's your interest. So Deanna is wonderful to work with, and we thank her for returning as a judge. Henry Park from PandaBlocks. PandaBlocks is a member of Innovative UCLA. He's the CEO of PandaBlocks. Henry is also very involved in the community. He started this guerrilla mask movement about a year ago, right at the beginning of the pandemic, and it has exploded. And he has monthly meetings, and he gets all this community leaders to come together to solve community problems. So that's why I thought it was appropriate for him to come and judge today, to kind of check out what the students are up to. Susan Nakashima, she's a principal manager at Southern California Edison. Susan is wonderful, very supportive of Innovative UCLA. She's a former chair of Innovative UCLA, and she's a former board member. She's very supportive of what we do. And also her background, she's doing her PhD at Pepperdine now in business administration. So I thought, kind of having that academic and private sector would be appropriate for her to come back and be a judge today. Will Branning is actually, he's from Mori Associates, who's a recent member of UCLA, but his client is JPL, and he's at JPL, and he's a technical recruiter, and he's interested in his student talent. So that's why we invited Will to be a judge. So thank you to all the judges. Thank you for taking the time to actually, come today and help the students with their projects, being a judge. And also, of course, our coaches. Our coaches have been just fabulous this quarter. I mean, it's not just the weekly Wednesday meetings that they have been attending every meeting every Wednesday for 2 hours. Plus, we have a check-in after each session with the committee, but also during the week. Weekends, they would meet with the students. I mean, I can see the the chatter on Slack, and I can see how much time and effort they're putting in helping the students. So I mean, this is all volunteer. They just volunteer their time to help the students, to coach the students, and it's just fabulous. I mean, when we had check-ins with them every week, I would they tell us how rewarding it is to coach these students, how fabulous our students are, the great talent we have here at UCLA, being the #1 public university. So it's very rewarding. That's why I love to do it, to help the students. It's very fulfilling. I have many alumni who graduated from UCLA and from the boot camps who come back and say, I want to help. What can we do? What can we do to help? So Andy Johnson is director at Sony Pictures. He is the coach for Team Clean Tech, and their name is Tera, Team Tera. Mike Catania, he's the CM co-founder of Lacaris. Mike is also an executive MBA student. He's graduating in a couple of weeks, and he's the coach of the Team EdTech, EDD in EdTech, and EdTech. That's the name of their team. Sunita is the CEO and founder of Neuralabs. She's also an Anderson executive MBA student. She's also graduating in a couple of weeks. Name of the team is Salud, and she's the coach for Team Health Tech. And Berang Abadi, he's a technical manager at City of Long Beach, and he was the coach for Team Smart City Tech, Cyber Citizens. So thank you so much, coaches. Thank you for your dedication, all the time you put into this bootcamp and the students, and this is just exciting. And actually, a couple of the coaches have expressed interest in coming back in coaching in the fall quarter. So that's exciting to hear. And I also want to thank the speakers and session experts who, again, when I email them, they're so willing to volunteer and come and help us, with presentation. They put all the presentations together. They would put exercise together. They really, I mean, it's a big effort. Shaheen, from Sony Picture, he presented on productivity tools. Erin Griffin, who is a UCL alum from Gartner, she presented on design thinking. Jamie Town from Slalom, she presented on communication and conflict resolution. Bernadette Arizari from Sony Pictures, it was on UI UX design. Nish from City of Long Beach, it was about data analytics. And Sherry Parr from Qualcomm, it was about how to pitch. And Sherry is also a UCLA alum. Session experts, Doug Walters from City of LA, he's also a UCLA alum. He basically was a session expert for Clean Tech Team. Richard Charlesworth from Slalom, he was the session expert for the EdTech team. Jagjit, who is also a former committee member, and he also expressed interest in coming back and being part of the planning committee. From County of LA, he was a smart city session expert for Smart City Tech team. And Ryan Witt from UCLA Health, he was a session expert for Health Tech team. So thank you, speakers and session experts, for your time and dedication and just volunteering to come and help the students. So before we get into the presentations, just a few things. Each team, as I mentioned, gets 20 minutes to present. With every student in the team should be presenting. So there are 4 teams. One of the teams, we had one student who could not make it because of family health issues. So EdTech team has 6 students, but the other 3 teams have 7 students. Followed by the judges Q&A for 10 minutes. There'll be a 5-minute warning. So the students keep an eye on this, on this, I don't know if it's going to come out right, but on just my signal, it says 5 minutes, but it may not, maybe I'll just do a hand signal of 5 minutes. And then you get a 2-minute warning, 2-minute warning. And I'll have the timer on. And at the end of 20 minutes, you'll hear the timer, and that means that's the end of your presentation. So with that, let's get started. So we're going to do it in reverse order. So Team Tera is the first team that will be presenting.
All right, great. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for spending your time with us today. Welcome to the Clean Tech team's presentation. Now, when it comes to resolving food waste, I'm sure we've all heard of composting as a potential solution. So our product, Tera, hopes to help people overcome the barriers to composting and help address this and encourage more people to adopt composting into their lifestyle. Let me just start off by introducing our team. So in the first row here, we have Catherine, Hope, Edmund, and Yash, who are part of our development team and have been working hard on putting together the product. In the second row, we have Shashvat, Katerina, and myself, who are part of the business team and have dedicated our time to thinking of the business strategy surrounding our product. And lastly, we have Andy, who is our team coach and has been advising us throughout this bootcamp.
Food waste is a major issue in this country. With 638 million tons of food waste produced in a single year, that contributes to over 2 billion tons of greenhouse gas emissions and the exacerbation of countless environmental problems. To manage that waste, we will end up spending $218 billion every year. And food waste ends up filling a quarter of our landfills. From farm to table, food waste occurs in factories, businesses, production facilities, grocery stores, and households where the food finally ends up. And it's clear that food waste is a massive problem with several potential issues that need to be addressed. To tackle it, we began by choosing to focus on household food waste. Household food waste represents 25 million tons of the food waste every year. There's one clear solution to addressing this issue, and that's composting. However, even though composting is this massive buzzword that we hear all the time when it comes to cutting down on waste and becoming more sustainable, it only accounts for 3% of household food waste. The rest ends up in landfills, thrown out instead of recycled and repurposed. In analyzing this problem, we realized the issue isn't with composting itself. Instead, there's low awareness on know-how, a high perceived time and effort investment, and a lack of accessibility. The issue here is the disconnect between people. There's a disconnect between people who know how to compost and the experts, people who are interested in composting, people who maybe want to volunteer in gardens and compost sites, and the people who want to start composting and just don't know how. With this in mind, when we started creating our Clean Tech project, we wanted to tap into the potential that technology offers in bringing people together. Through the research that we conducted and the issues we identified with household food waste and composting, they've inspired us to develop our product with the goal of becoming the bridge that connects people within the composting community.
We came up with these user profiles to inform our product design. Nellie Nature is the main user we focused on. She cares about the environment and is interested in composting, but doesn't know how to start. Eric Earth is another person interested in composting, but he is too busy to look into the process and how to get involved. Compost Chad is the head of a composting hub at the local community garden. He needs volunteers to help him maintain the compost pile, but doesn't have a single resource to find such volunteers. Gina Garden is an expert in composting. She is willing to share her knowledge and help others, but doesn't have a personal network of interested people. So on one side of the network, Nellie Nature and Eric Earth are people who would like to get started in composting. On the other side, Compost Chad and Gina Garden are experts in composting and have valuable resources and knowledge, but don't have that many people to share it with. While Tera doesn't implement the composting itself, it serves as a connector for these two sides. Tera gives someone like Nellie Nature a way to connect with a compost hub manager like Compost Chad to drop off food waste, or with an expert like Gina Garden to ask about starting her own compost pile. This is important because connections motivate people to change their behavior. While we didn't have the chance to do formal user research or interviews through primary research within our immediate network, we decided to focus on creating a platform that made it easier and more fun to connect with other composters. We wanted to make a community of people who are passionate about composting and decreasing food waste. To build those connections, we knew there needed to be a straightforward method for someone like Nellie Nature to easily reach out and connect with an expert like Gina Garden, some kind of messaging or forum function. We also created a map to make it easy for Nellie Nature to access compost hubs near her and to get involved in helping out. If Nellie wanted to learn about different types of composting, she could use our resources that are provided in one centralized location. All of this will be provided in a user-friendly interface that makes it very easy to access all of this information and to connect with others.
Now that we've talked a lot about our goals and ideas, I want to take this opportunity to show you Tera itself. As we get started, I first want to emphasize that Tera is the absolute pantheon of composting support online. We offer easy scheduling tools to support compost drop-off and volunteering, promote educational content to elevate people's composting proficiency. We also provide critical social media features like forums and direct messaging to facilitate community building, and positively reinforce participation with a gamified progression system. Now that we have a high-level overview of what Tera can provide for you, let's get started with the application itself. For example, let's first adopt the role of Nellie Nature. The first step that all we have to do is to identify ourselves as an aspiring composter. This takes you to an extremely quick and easy, no-frills sign-up page that allows you to create an account in just 2 clicks. I would also like to take this moment to emphasize that we have a full host of security features to protect the privacy of our users. HTTPS certification, data encryption at rest and in motion, as well as opt-in dual-factor authentication, you name it. Alternatively, if I were Compost Chad, who is an altruistic enthusiast looking to connect with more composters, we can simply choose the other option and follow through the sign-up steps. Once again, you notice just how simple it is. With just 3 clicks, we're done. Lastly, the quickest way to get started is to simply input your location right at the top of our landing page, which takes you to a fully interactive map highlighting nearby compost centers so that you can quickly get all of the information that you need at your fingertips. Here, we can first click through to get more detailed information on a specific composting center. At the right side, we can see the services that they provide, such as scraps drop-off and volunteering, as well as the person we'd be contacting, who in this case is our friend Compost Chad. We can also see the specific address of the location. I would also like to add a note here, is that this address will only be provided to users who have already signed up for an account in order to further protect the privacy of our users. Now that we have some necessary information, let's learn a bit more. Here, we can see all of the detailed scheduling breakdown so we can know exactly what slot that we can sign up for. So let's try right now. With just, again, the click of one button, you're able to sign up, which takes us to our profile page. At the top, we can see the volunteer slot that we signed up for, along with other possible future opportunities. At the bottom, we can see our progress. Achievements are earned by attending special events or just by being particularly helpful on Tera so that other users can reward you for being awesome. Plant level, on the other hand, is our way of tracking a user's overall progress. As a user participates more and more in their composting community, their virtual plant will be able to blossom alongside them. We choose to highlight this feature and plan on expanding it because we really want Tera to be a user's path to a long-term composting commitment, and we think that reward systems strongly encourage that. It is also incredibly easy with Terra to connect with other people. Once again, with just a single click, I can hop over to the communications section to see an entire feed of local composting centers and other composters celebrating their hard work while receiving educational and motivating composting content all in one page. Connecting with individuals is also incredibly simple. For example, let's say that I, Nelly Nature, wanted to contact Gina Garden for help on my current batch. Terra provides built-in direct messaging so users don't have to go through the hassle of establishing third-party lines of communication. Instead, everything is all in one place, Terra. With all of that being said, I would once again like to emphasize that there is simply no other product on the market that does everything we do. Nelly, Gina, and Chad, they can all connect with anyone that they need, be rewarded for their hard work, and celebrate the joys of composting together. Now that we have a good idea of what Terra looks like today, let's talk about our vision for what Terra will be tomorrow.
We must now define the roadmap to which our product will grow. So first, during this first 6 months, these will comprise of acquiring new customers that use our product. These months will prioritize building the product itself to develop our features of using the map to find compost hubs to which an individual can drop off their waste at a convenient location, and the ability to create local and community compost centers by any individual, as Edmund just demonstrated. This will be so that we can create a positive network effect in which Terra will serve as a network connecting these two sides, that is the compost hubs and the customers who want to compost, in which the increase in composters will emphasize the need and opportunity for the creation of more compost centers, which thus in turn will increase awareness and participation in composting itself. To generate revenue during this period of time, we will be seeking donations as our primary source of revenue, as our service will so far be entirely free in order to acquire as many customers as we can within the current market. Now, the next 3 months at period number 9 will further entail the development of the gamification aspect of our application, as Edmund also demonstrated earlier. This will be beneficial in 2 main areas as a success of Terra. First, the shareable rewards feature of Terra will help improve our position in attracting new consumers to our product. Second, we will integrate additional paid features such as charging the compost hubs monthly for registering volunteer accounts that they create and offering loyalty benefits for a higher subscription, which will further support Terra and its financial growth. This will further improve our efforts in acquiring customers, as there will now be an increased incentive to join as both a composter and as a compost hub, especially in terms of a monetary value. And so this will aid in the growth of the positive cross network that I defined earlier. The more incentives that there will be for customers to donate their waste to compost centers, the more incentives there will be for compost hubs to be created in the first place, thus creating more incentives for customers to get rewards from compost hubs and so on. This back and forth nature of the growth of both the customers and compost hubs will benefit each side of the cross network and also propel Terra's growth. Now at the 12-month mark, we will notice that the first year will be lower in terms of the total percentage of users who will be monetized, because only 3 months of that year will we be receiving any form of revenue. The next year, however, will be tailored and to continue developing and improving our current platform and incentivizing more volunteers to help compost centers with their knowledge on the practices of composting. As explained before, the use of volunteers will be instrumental in the success of composting centers, and so we will use this time to tailor our features to grow our network of volunteers. This will also be a period of time in which we will be assessing our business model and features and adjusting as needed to best position our product for success, and we will continue to do so throughout every year and throughout the entire life cycle of the product. Now, at the 24-month mark, we will spend the next year focusing on expanding our service outside the city of Los Angeles and integrate our service in relevant areas of California with intent to expand throughout the entire state and the entire nation. At the 36-month mark, we will now have displayed that Terra is a positively profiting product, as we will now be generating revenue, which will give us an opportunity to exit via either a buyout or acquisition through integration with the government or a private corporation. We will notice that this will give us the best opportunity for success, as this will cement our legitimacy as a composting application. Given this roadmap for the rollout of our product, it is imperative to consider why our product comparatively outweighs in its features in comparison to our competitors.
So first off, I'd like to quickly apologize because it looks like one of our members disconnected from the Zoom call. So hopefully that he can come back on, but in the meantime, I'll be able to take this slide. So I want to take this moment to really emphasize the competitive difference that Terra has in comparison to other products on the market. To start off with, Terra is simply, once again, the pantheon of all possible composting support services that you could need. LA Compost, Share Waste, and A Billion all do their own niche really fantastically. However, the issue is that because they do not have every single feature that Terra provides, users are not incentivized to just stay on that site and establish a composting community. Instead, those users just go to these websites for just one single service and then immediately leave right after, which only feeds back into the problem that Catherine elaborated on in the start. The key features that we have identified both earlier and right now is 1, educational resources, 2, a map of all of the compost hubs for easy access and easy participation, 3, scheduling for drop-offs so that anyone can participate within their busy schedules, 4, gamification of progress so individuals feel rewarded for composting, 5, discussion forums so that users can communicate knowledge and build a community, and 6, private messaging for things that public forums cannot resolve. All of these features combined make Terra the epitome of composting online.
And looking at the market for something like Terra, we know that we're tapping into a market that's rapidly growing. So if you look at historical trends, interest in composting has experienced a 280% growth from the years 2000 to 2018. And this is a market that we anticipate to continue growing as it becomes more of an imperative for governments, institutions, and consumers to pay attention to sources of carbon emissions, as well as the general environmental conditions. So we took a bottom-up impact-driven approach to market sizing. So assuming an average monetary value of $10 per ton of food waste that Terra can contribute to the value chain, we applied that to existing statistics about the amount of food waste that's being produced in the United States to arrive at a total addressable market of $250 million US. We further narrowed that down to the food waste that's just being produced by Los Angeles households to arrive at the serviceable or available market of $10 million. From there on, if we assume a 15% capture of the Los Angeles market, we have a serviceable obtainable market of $1.5 million.
Structured as a nonprofit organization, we have the flexibility of relying on restricted income, such as in-kind contributions from corporate partners, and unrestricted income in form of federal and state grants. However, to ensure sustainability of our company, we will establish 2 other revenue streams: voluntary donations encouraged on the website from onset, as well as later introduced special features that will come at a cost to the compost site owners, therefore leveraging their side of the network to continue offering service free of charge to those seeking to compost. Having the flexibility of dual income, we may then consider focusing either more on fundraising or paid offerings within the platform, depending on the assessment of the first year run through and whether we will be targeting a private or a government entity for a possible acquisition. Considering this setup, we are looking to raise $150,000, which will help us cover the initial cost of software development and achieve cash positivity in our 3rd year. We welcome you to join us in saving over 1 million of food waste in 5 years through growing the composting community in Los Angeles together. Thank you. Any questions?
Judges, you have 10 minutes for questions.
Hi, good evening. This is Susan Nakashima. Let me first start off by saying excellent job. Congratulations. That was really an excellent presentation. So just one question. When you talked about the customer acquisition period, I'm interested in the donations that you talked about and how, looking at how and where will you solicit your service, and what does that look like if you don't get enough donations or you're casting a larger net, or just what's your thought process around the donation piece for your first 6 months? Thank you.
Absolutely.
I can take
I
that
think
one.
Katarina
Okay.
would be better to take that, actually.
How about I kick it off and then you can add on as you feel. So I think in terms of donations, especially within the first acquisition period, is more of, it would be nice as a cherry on top, but we are only, if you look at our budget, we're only kind of counted on a very small percentage of those being present. So that will be something that we want to encourage as a source of revenue, but understanding that this is the initial phase when people are still building loyalty to our platform, it will only account for a very small amount of those, and hopefully it will grow, and it will be integrated within the website, as the service will be offered free of charge, but people would be encouraged to make a donation. And especially because the customers that we are targeting are environmentally aware people who are more prone as customers to be donating money to different nonprofit organizations, we think that our chances of actually securing donations from them would be rather positive.
So this is Deanna, and great job. And just to follow that up, I just want to sort of get a clarification. So you're seeing this as a nonprofit, is that correct? Because that wasn't clear in your pitch.
Yes.
Okay, and with that in mind, I mean, typically, nonprofits don't necessarily think about exiting or finishing after 3 years. I was curious as to how you guys came about that decision.
I think because kind of the function that we would be taking on in encouraging and providing that connection point for composting is sort of the role that in most places in the world, the government actually carries out. So I think for us, it's more of we want to create this and then see how we can best further kind of grow our impact that we're able to make within either the private companies that would take place in Los Angeles area to carry out composting, or be government organizations. I think with the amount of data that we're going to be able to capture, we would also be a pretty valuable resource to help kind of map out and better, more efficiently plan out composting facilities in the Los Angeles area as well. So I think in kind of looking to maximize the impact that we're able to make, and possibly joining a bigger entity to do so.
Thank you.
This is Nasim, and I agree with both Susan and Deanna. Fabulous job. And I love that you used gamification. And so I had a question on the competitive analysis slide. It shows that that's a differentiator for you. And I'm wondering, what is the difference in your gamification versus the bottom company there that also does gamification?
I can take that question. So actually, when we were looking at the landscape, specifically the company on the bottom, we sort of mapped it out in terms of thinking about potential competitors in the future as well, because this company at the bottom, which is called A Billion, they actually aren't specifically addressing the composting market, but rather they're sort of encouraging, I believe they do like, they encourage people to adopt just a more sustainable lifestyle through diet. So they're more, you can think of them as also another social network that's also trying to do what we're doing, in the sense that they're trying to convert consumers to adopt a more sustainable lifestyle change. So I think that that's sort of how we differentiate ourselves from that particular, I guess in a sense, because that competitor is like more indirect, though like this could be a potential area that they enter in the future, though that's not their focus right now. So that's a more indirect competitor. In terms of our gamification, features specifically, we're thinking in terms of so like achievement badges that you can sort of unlock as you compost more and more, like based on the amount of food scraps that you're donating or the amount of food scraps that you received as a compost hub. We think that those are all valuable indication, sort of social indicators. You can think of them as social currency to other users on the platform that will encourage sort of customer stickiness, if you can think of it that way, but also just push people to continue to compost and think of it as a permanent lifestyle change.
So with the badges, are there any type of awards that are unlocked? Is there a monetary value, or what's actually behind the badges? Mm-hmm.
I think this is part of our like product roadmap in the future, we were thinking that if possible, as you go up along the chain, in the sense that you get more and more badges, it could be possible for us to establish a partnership with maybe a local farmers market or a farmers co-op to potentially get some sort of a discounted benefit or potential potential items that they can get for free through this partnership. But again, that's still something that because it's further down the roadmap, we didn't specifically plan for it like right away.
Thank you.
Couple of things I wanted to comment that sort of leading up from all the other questions that the judges had. First off, I commend you guys so much for doing this. What you guys are working on. I hope you're inspiring a lot of peers, a lot of other students to do the same. And a lot of my comments is in hopes that you guys actually continue on with this and do something with it. There's actually a composting initiative with the nonprofit that we started, and I see there's some ways to collaborate. And one of the things that popped into my mind was, I think it was really smart that you guys went down the nonprofit route. And when I look at the competitive landscape slide that Nassim's pointing to, and some of the gamification points or whatnot, I actually think you guys can tweak that to not look at them as competitors, but look at them as partners. And you guys have a lot of creativity here, and the thing that really resonated with me was your focus on the disconnection between the people who actually realize that there's a lot of waste, but they don't know what to do, and I think that should be a really key focus. And when there's a lot of that gamification that you guys have thought about, I would love to see it as a way to partner with these people here, but not just them, but everyone else. So that was really my comment.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the feedback.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Kevin Gray here. I don't know how much time we have left, but if you don't mind, I'd like to say, number one, that I'm always amazed. This is my second year serving as a judge, and I must say that you students amaze me every single time. So this, again, just wonderful work. I want to dig in a little bit, if you don't mind, on sort of your guys' your approach towards design thinking, because I'm certainly seeing many elements of design thinking here. My first question is, you mentioned that you didn't have time to conduct interviews, but you developed some user personas. And could you kind of reiterate for me again how you developed those personas?
Yeah, I can take that one. So I think in the beginning, when we just kind of narrowed down on composting, a big part, actually, we were talking to our team coach, as he was saying, like, yeah, he had interest in composting, but he just had no idea where to start. And we figured, he's kind of like our Nelly nature in a way, the kind of person who has interest, cares about, sustainability and about Earth, and doesn't want to waste their food, but doesn't really have, the resources to kind of connect with other people. So that's definitely the user profile that we focused on the most. And then I think in thinking about this person, I think the other side, such as like Compost Chad or Gina Garden, kind of came as the more others, like naturally it's like the other side, like, oh, if there's these people, there's probably people like Compost Chad or Gina Garden who are already involved in composting, but don't have a way to connect with and share their resources and knowledge with people like Nelly Nature or like our team coach.
Yeah. Did you do any reading on composting? Any other writings from other people that are sort of into it to help you kind of identify those characteristics of those personas?
Not too many articles personally. There was this video on composting, and similar, like they had a garden, and they're talking about how they try to like find volunteers and things like that but personally, not too much reading on specific like articles from people who are doing this.
Yeah. So I love the
however,
features.
if I can, oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Out of time for questions. Was there another question?
Are
I
we out
was
of
just
time?
trying to add a last comment, but it's okay if we're out of time.
Yeah, we're out of time. We need to move on to a second. Thank you so much, Team Tera. Great job. Thank you.
Great job. Great work.
Okay, next is Team Salo with Health Tech.
What would you say if a text message could save $100 billion? Well, now, what would you say if that same text message could save 125,000 lives per year? We're Medipal, and we're here to discuss a very prominent yet rarely discussed problem in the medical field. So, a couple of statistics to make you familiarized with prescription non-adherence. That is the problem that we're discussing today. 25% of we have 25% of hospitalizations every year. 1 in every 5 prescriptions are never filled, and of those 4 that are actually filled, only 50% of those are used. This means that a maximum of 40% of the prescriptions are actually taken correctly, and we are pretty sure that this number is extremely high. Not all people take their medicines correctly, either for lack of accountability or they forget, etc. And we're here to try to solve that problem.
So we are aware that there are solutions out there, and here are some of the issues with them that Medipal aims to solve. Firstly, there are a good number of health reminder smartphone apps. A big issue with these is that they're entirely patient initiated, and not every patient is going to go out of the way to download an app and enroll themselves in Reminder. And oftentimes the ones who do are not the ones who need the most help being adherent. Another issue is simply that these applications require owning a smartphone. Although that is fairly common now, there are still groups of people who don't own one, don't have access to the internet, or are not comfortable navigating apps on their phones. Lastly, none of the existing solutions address the lack of health literacy many doctors face with their patients. Since patients are inputting their own information, they won't really gain a deeper understanding than what they already know.
Just to give a brief overview of our solution, when patients are prescribed a medication, our platform sends them reminders at the designated time for them to take the medication and supplies detailed information, including the name of the medication, how many doses the patient should take, and various restrictions, such as whether there's cross-reactivity among drugs. This makes it easy for patients to take their medication properly and on time, and it removes the burdens of manually setting alarms or reminders or having to call the pharmacy to check for additional information. We find that there are 3 major benefits of Medipal. It's automatic, meaning there's no patient initiative needed. It's inclusive. All that's needed is text message capability. So regardless of the type of phone you have or how familiar with technology you are, Medipal is accessible to you. And it's expansive. We have additional features to reduce barriers and create second contacts. Just to go a little bit into the validation for our platform, we did have expert advice. We collaborated with a session expert on our platform. We conducted 4 in-depth doctor interviews and included their constructive criticism in our platform. And we conducted some beta testing. The majority of our users found the concept beneficial and enjoyed the warm and engaging aspects of Medipal.
Currently, the competitors to Medipal include CVS's text service system, other medical and general reminder apps, and pill bottles, each of which vary in terms of efficacy and ease of access. CVS's text service system allows patients to opt into a text message-based service that will send a message when a prescription is ready for refill. While this service is generally accessible even to those without a smartphone, it does not provide much beyond prescription refill reminders. So that means after a patient receives a particular medication, it would then be completely up to them to remember to take it at the proper time. Other smartphone medical apps try to solve this problem by allowing patients to record when they take medications and receive reminders to take them. Apps such as these range in cost. While some are free, others are available to those who pay a set subscription fee. And while solutions such as these provide many beneficial features to the patient, it's still only accessible to those who own a smartphone and still requires some form of patient initiative. Since our goal was to create a service that patients are automatically enrolled in and is accessible even to those without smartphones, this does not completely address our problem. Beyond this, patients can also manually keep track of their medications through the use of any general reminder app, or they can check when to take their medication on their pill bottles. But with these two solutions, it still does not provide any sort of reminder system for the patient. So the patient still has to take that initiative to remember to take their medication. So these competitors vary in terms of their individual efficacies and ease of access, but our solution does improve on both of these points. So firstly, it lowers barriers to entry since Medipal only requires text message capability, while other apps require smartphones with internet access. And this service is also completely free to the patient in that it doesn't require any sort of subscription fee and it doesn't require any opt-in from the patient. While all smartphone-based apps require some form of patient initiative to set up a reminder schedule, Medipal does not require anything from the patient. Since our solution is integrated with patients' electronic health records, less burden is thus placed on healthcare providers to ensure that patients are undergoing the treatment they need. And this in turn leads to the benefit of increased adherence to medication. Medipal also works to increase medical literacy with information about prescriptions that are sent with their corresponding reminders and includes extra features such as the option to add a second contact who will be alerted if a patient does not respond to multiple reminders, as well as other appointment reminders for necessary age-based tests.
So here is a high-level look at how our solution works. We first receive data from the medical provider, whether that be a pharmacy or electronic medical records, and we craft a custom-tailored message for the patient about each medicine they will be reminded about. This always includes information such as how they should take the medication and can optionally include a motivational message or why the patient is taking it. For privacy issues, we do provide the option to omit the name and reason for the medication. This information is all stored in our database, which we are using MongoDB for, and from there, our application runs a script every 10 minutes on Heroku to check if any patients need to be notified and sends out the appropriate text reminders through Twilio.
Now we will do a demo, a technical demonstration of our product. For this demo, we're gonna use my number, but we're more than happy to use any of the judges' number if they're willing to share it. So now we would like one of the judges to suggest a medicine of their choosing. Any medicine, really.
How about Prozac?
Prozac? Okay, that's perfect.
How's that spelled? P-O. We'll go for that for now. Okay. And then we're gonna just have some assumptions about the restrictions and give a message there. But we just want to show that we are doing this live. Okay, so this is an example of 20 different medications being uploaded to the system. So the way that data gets into our current application is just a very flexible API endpoint. And so we spoke with people who make the medical record systems, and it's relatively easy to integrate when a prescription is assigned. That triggers an event calling a webhook, and then we have a flexible way that data comes into our application. So for this purpose, we've just made an endpoint or a data type with the columns that we're looking for. It's a very minimal amount of information that we require. And we put this in a CSV format just for simplicity's sake. But of course, we could easily modify this endpoint to take different types of data. But our industry connections spoke to the idea that as a vendor to a larger medical record system, we can request whatever format we're really going to need to make the application work. So we're using this for our demonstration. And so this simple front end just enables the upload of a file. So I'm going to go ahead and upload our test data file and then pull up our server console here. So I'm going to upload it here, and you can see that our server is receiving the medications, and then it processes them, generates a custom message based on the restrictions, how you're supposed to take it, and then generates, we're keeping track of the times it's supposed to be taken. And then we're taking all those medications and pushing them up into our MongoDB database. So that's for further storage. So this is these 20 medications, including Isabel's that we're going to post up there, just got put into the database. And now what we can do, note that I set the timing on Isabel's medication to 1932, which is in about 5 minutes in military time. And so what we're doing here is now we have a second script that parses through the database and checks each user and sees if their time is within the next 10 minutes. And we run it every 10 minutes. And this is running on a Heroku server, but I'll trigger it manually for now. And so every 10 minutes, this runs and checks each user in the database for whether their time is present in the database. And then at that time, they are sent a message they are pulled from the database, and we send them a message containing that custom text. Okay, so Isabel, why don't, at this point, you should have gotten a text message, and go ahead and let me know when you received
I got it just right
Okay.
now. I'm gonna read it to you, and then I'm gonna show it on the screen. This is your Medipal here to remind you to take your medicine with food. Keep in mind these restrictions: no calcium.
Awesome. So yeah, you would receive a custom reminder similar to that. And each time that in the database, it says that you need to take your medication. So that could be multiple times per day, or it could just be once. And we're adding support for custom time intervals as well.
All right, so now that we have seen a little glimpse into our platform, we want to give you more of an idea of our target customers. So we have the patients, the payers, and the providers. So the patients will be interacting most consistently and frequently with the platform, as they'll be receiving these reminder text messages. So overall, patients will get an increase in their medical adherence through these reminders, an increase in their medical literacy through additional features we plan to implement, such as links, giving more information about each prescription that this patient is taking. And overall, this will lead to an increase in the patient's health, as there is an increase in the medical adherence. Next, our target customer is the payer, which will be a private insurance company, or for one of our target demographics, which is the elderly, we would specifically target Medicare. So for Medicare and these private insurance companies, the return visits to the doctor for the patient would decrease, which overall would increase the money saved by these payers. Additionally, we have the providers, which would be pharmacies such as CVS. So using Medipal, pharmacies will be able to gather data directly from the patients, and they can take this data to optimize their patient care plans. So through additional features that we plan to implement, these providers will get data such as, why did a patient forget a prescription? Why did a patient choose not to take a prescription at a specific time? Does this patient believe that they are healing from their medication and can stop taking it at a certain day? So now we're just going to take you briefly through the patient experience. So say a patient gets sick and they go to the doctor. The patient then is diagnosed and they receive a prescription, and the prescription goes to the pharmacy where the patient would pick up the prescription. Traditionally, this is where the patient experience would end. However, by implementing Medipal, we hope to extend the patient experience beyond this point. So the patient would be able to get these general reminder text messages from our Medipal, and they would get reminders to take their medication, which would overall increase their medical adherence, increase their health, and overall the patient would do better.
So the health market is a large one, with an estimated $100 to $300 billion that can be saved if proper medication adherence is followed. Mobile phone text messaging is shown to be the most impactful medium in bolstering medical adherence, and approximately doubles the odds of medication adherence, with an absolute increase of 17.8%. 10% increase of medication adherence is then linked to a 29% reduction in healthcare costs. Therefore, we would not only be infiltrating a large $300 billion market, but we'd be able to capitalize on a large percent of it, all by just sending a single text message. In our first year of running, we plan to run lean as our product takes full form. Between our communication platform, our database, and our server, our largest expense is our communication platform, Twilio, but the cost per text message will decrease the more our consumer base grows, leading to more opportunities for customer interaction in future years. In terms of generating money, we would charge a $3 per active patient per month, a very small percent of our potential $300 billion market. In order to encourage retention and participation, we will have a bracketed payment system where the cost per patient will decrease depending on the percent of active patients. In terms of future projections, our first year we would expect to generate positive net income, which will increase every year after as the amount of our consistent patient interactions increases. Most importantly, as we expand, our rate of revenue increases more than our rate of expense, and our projected growth rate over our first 3 years is well above the healthcare information technology industry average, with the projection of a typical successful startup. As our product launches, our number one focus is user retention. Since if the user is interacting with our program more often, the more often they will be reminded to take their medication. Utilizing a clustering growth strategy, our first year we plan to integrate into the UCLA Health Epic EHR in the diverse Los Angeles community. In our second year, we would expand utilizing the Better Together Health Network, which would add an additional 5 major health organizations, while we incorporate additional features such as general appointment reminders and polypharmacy side effect tracking. We would then take on California as a whole our third year while improving our user interface experience. Following, we would then target the caregiver industry that possesses a $470 billion market, with one of their leading problems being 69% of forgotten medication is due to inattention.
Now we want to take a minute to highlight the advisors that helped us along this journey. We had an ER physician, as well as several UCLA Biodesign Fellows and the Hub Director for the UCLA Biodesign Fellowship. All of these advisors gave us their personal perspective from the medical field, as well as their major pain points from the medical field, and provided us constructive criticism for all of our iterations and truly helped us along this journey.
So finally, our team came together in this program through a shared passion for using our skills for social good, especially in the context of the medical field, since it is one in which many prevalent systemic issues still exist. So without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves as well as what our roles were within the team.
Hi, I'm Isabel. I'm a fourth-year stats major and digital humanities minor, and I work in the dev team helping build different functions for our system and helping do the investigation for the general database.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason. I'm a second-year data theory major. I worked on the dev team, and I worked on the API that input our data into the system. And then I also just kind of glued the different pieces of our stack together into the final product.
Hi, my name is Julia Offerman. I'm a second-year computer science major, and I implemented the script that checks the database if any messages need to be sent out, as well as crafting messages and entering patient data from JSON.
Hi, I'm Olivia. I'm a second-year stats major. I was on the dev team. I helped create the code that sent the text message through Twilio, and I created our test data CSV.
I'm Kevin O'Donnell. I'm a third year integrative biology and physiology major. I was on the product team and helped work on the product interface, as well as financials and base research and the slide deck.
Hi, I'm Shannon Beal, a second-year psychobiology major. I was also on the product team, and I helped coordinate the interviews that we had with our advisors, as well as just general research and with the slide deck creation.
Hi, I'm Nandana, and I'm a second-year linguistics and computer science student. As the product manager of this team and as a member of the product team, I oversaw the completion of the project and helped conduct the background research that was integral to the creation of this system. All right, thank you so much. Now, do we have any questions from the judges?
This is Nassim. I had a question. Well, first, just I think very impressive again. I mean, it's very clear that you guys put a lot of thought into this, and the amount of research that you did really shows. So very impressive. I didn't hear you guys mention anything about security, and with all of the patient data and the APIs with the electronic health record, I'm curious if you've thought through that and what your thoughts are around making sure that it's a very secure app.
Yes, exactly. That's a very good question and something we definitely researched a lot. I will throw this over to Jason, who will be able to give you more details.
Yeah, so it's certainly a consideration that we had throughout the application, as well as we wanted to make sure we were HIPAA compliant as we are working with medical data. So firstly, the thing we want to highlight is in terms of overall security, we're using all enterprise grade, server into database. MongoDB is used by a lot of companies. And so all the data storage and that not getting hacked, that's on MongoDB, and they're using all the most up-to-date stuff. In terms of the data that we store, we purposely chose not to store anything like the user's name or their medical record number. Really, we just wanted to have phone numbers and medications. So the minimal possible amount of identifying information that still allows us to complete the task at hand. And then furthermore, we understand that some patients might want privacy in terms of what medication they're taking. This is a text that you're going to see on your phone if it pops up while your phone is locked. And so we have another field in the medications that you enter for anonymous medications. And those medications would come in as the message as just, it's time to take your medication, and not specify the name of the medication. And so those features combined allow for user privacy, both in terms of the user's own use, and then we're also protecting from external threats to the infrastructure.
Thank you.
I had a great job, guys. And actually, a lot of the systems that you guys are using, you guys clearly did your research. There's a lot of enterprises that are using them. So good job on that. And you guys really made an effort to actually build it out. So this for me is clearly an MVP. It's not just a a mock-up. The question I had was on marketing. Did you guys think through what the marketing strategy is going to be and what the cost of that is going to be? Because you guys are entering a very competitive landscape here.
Yeah, exactly. Another really great question. I can throw this over to Kevin, who did more of our finances.
Yeah, of course. As kind of a startup in MVP, we definitely want to run lean, starting out and focus on more of the design of our progress before focusing on a marketing team. Within that as well, we plan to integrate within the Epic Health Record, EHR, first starting at UCLA, since we're already here, and then kind of building out about that. We kind of, after doing some reading on Y Combinator and a lot of kind of different companies or startups that were similar to ours took the approach, our number one focus wants to be retention, since the more people are reminded and using our app, the more that they're going to be able to take their medication. So we want to focus first on user retention. So we want to first start in the Los Angeles community, start there, and then they are within a larger network of 5 more different healthcare networks, such as Kaiser Permanente, the USC system, that we then expand to beyond that, before then taking on California and the West Coast. So we really want to start small and focus on our product as it develops and keeping that user attention in mind at the forefront.
Hi, this is Deanna. I have a question regarding your patient and your provider. Did you have an opportunity to do any interviews with actual patients who would be using this? And if so, what did they say? And I'd like to understand who is the typical person that you are trying to reach with this? So I'll let you guys, I won't ask anymore. I think that'll keep you busy.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. That's another great question. So we definitely did do some beta, like preliminary beta testing with peers of our similar age. And then I also used like family members of generations above me. So we definitely wanted to target the elderly as one of our demographics, as we need to make sure that someone is looking out for them, making sure they're taking their prescriptions timely, consistently, with or without food, with or without alcohol or calcium or all of these other substances that could cause complications with the medication. So we definitely did preliminary beta testing. And even just among us, like we talked about it, and I talked to peers like of my similar age, and just like having that extra reminder to take even just a simple vitamin would totally help us on like a day-to-day basis. And then we also conducted interviews with several physicians and saw that one of their big pain points was people coming in and not even knowing what the prescriptions they're taking are doing for them, why they're taking them, or when they're even supposed to take them. We talked to one doctor at UCLA Biodesign who said that he had a patient come in with just a bag of pills and said, I don't know when I'm supposed to take them or what I'm supposed to take them with. And so we really wanted to aim our platform at patients like those to really organize their medications and send them reminders to really just alleviate the stress of having to remember themselves, and to also increase medical adherence and medical literacy as well.
I'd like to hop on if that's okay. It's funny, just before we started our presentation today, my mom texted me and she was like, why are you sick? Like, I told you to take your probiotics and whatever. And I like have the text on my phone, and I answered her and I said, no, I keep forgetting. And she said, can you set a couple of daily reminders on your phone to take your vitamins and probiotic? And I said, okay, mom, oh my gosh. And then she said, it may prevent getting sick too. And I sent it to our group chat and I was like, this is why we need Medipal. Like, I need it. I forget all the time. And I think it's really important that we're targeting, people who are older, people who don't know how to use smartphones. My grandma would have no idea how to set up anything on an app. This is the simplest way to, get medical information across, and it just lowers all these barriers that, people who are not technologically adept come across.
So
Olivia, sorry, I was just gonna say, Olivia, that's such a great example. That should be part of the pitch.
Yes, exactly.
We have 1 more minute for any final questions from the judges.
So I'll just ask one question, one statement, and then one question, and I'll stick on my, design thinking theme. I really like that you guys did your interviews and you actually had a high-level customer journey map that you kind of laid out. It was really cool. My question for you is around prototyping. You guys you ended with, actually had a working prototype that you showed us, but along the way, did you do any intermediate prototyping that maybe you shared with the patient customers, the users that you had interviewed, anything like that?
Yeah, another great question that I can touch base on and then throw over to the dev team if they want to add more. But in our beta testing, we didn't have the platform set up at that point. So we just used our text, and we had like templates copied and pasted that we would send to the people we were beta testing, just to see how they liked the flow of the text, if they liked the length, if they liked it to be more warm and engaging, adding like, take your medication to make sure you can be there when your daughter walks down the aisle, adding more like warm aspects to that as well. So that was how we beta tested before we had an actual prototype. And if anybody else wants to add on to that, go for it.
Something that I would like to add is that we made sure to do the beta testing with all the options of like that our prototype shows, if it's anonymous or not, if it wants a more warm message or just something simple like take your medicine, etc. So we made sure to cover as many aspects as we could without having like to send messages to random people that we don't know.
Okay, thank you so much. We need to move on to the third team. Thank you so much. Great job. Team salute. Awesome.
Great job, team.
Yeah, thank you. So now third team, Team Ed Tech. You're next.
Hello, everyone. We want to thank you all for joining us. We are Reducate, and we're super excited to be presenting to you all. So first and foremost, next slide, please. Thank you. So first and foremost, I want to introduce you all to high school senior Ashley. There she is. She just graduated. Yes, I cropped my friends out of the picture. So high school senior Ashley is super book smart, super ambitious, loves school, loves to learn, but underneath it all, she's pretty scared because she feels like high school really didn't give her the hands-on learning she'd need to enter the real world, more so just a theoretical education. College, Ashley still feels much of the same way. I'm sure this is something many of us can relate to, judges, you all included. Many of us feel like we didn't really gain any real world skills applicable to the workforce while we were in high school, and it didn't really set us up for success in that sense. I know I certainly felt and still feel that way. So now that already leaves high school students and graduates feeling like they're at a disadvantage. Let's add on to that the feeling that many low-income students have, many of my friends from high school included, that they have absolutely no professional network leaving high school, and more so, no networking skills either. One of my friends from high school, his name is Gabriel, he told me that he has no idea what he's doing trying to network with professionals, and he's often envious of wealthier kids who, you know, had family, friends, and other professionals in their network pretty much since birth. So these gaps exist. They are significant enough already, but especially now after 1.5 years of a pandemic, they are larger than ever. So all of this leads us to the key social impact issue that our team identified and aimed to solve. How can we bridge these gaps in education and really create a pipeline for students to gain valuable and marketable skills and build networks along the way? So this leads us into our problem statement. So first and foremost, students feel unprepared for the real world because their high school education hasn't prepared them with any hands-on skills. And then to add on to that, low-income students face this added barrier of coming out of high school without the professional networks that their non-low-income peers have. So now Haley is going to present our solution that our team came up with to address this problem.
Yeah, so how do we solve this problem? Our team developed a platform called Reducate, which connects students with industry mentors to work on real-life projects. Through hands-on experiences, students will see how knowledge they learn in class is used in industry and get professional experience and career opportunities that they wouldn't be able to have in school. Now, Srijan will talk about why our product is unique.
Thank you, Haley. And yeah, the key word is unique. A lot of solutions don't make the cut because they don't stand out. Here, we're trying to show that Reducate is something in its own. Our solution kind of bridges that gap between the classroom learning and the real world kind of applications in that direct manner. And that connection is going to go to leaders in the respective fields, really giving context behind what is happening in the classroom. That connection presents a key and underutilized, at least for high school students, as Ashley mentioned, the key and underutilized opportunity for professional networking. And as high school students, we're just not ready to do that yet. Now, Haley is going to kind of go over the product overview and how this whole thing works.
Yes, so our products have 4 main aspects to solve this problem. First is Find. Both students and mentors can browse through all available projects given by our companies and their syllabus. They can sort according to their subject interests and rank the projects in order of preferences. Next is Match. Our platform implements an algorithm to match students and mentors into projects, all making sure that the most number of people can be matched to the projects that they're most interested in. Once students are in a project, they learn by completing weekly learning objectives. Each week, they have reading assignments, homework, and online discussions with mentor and fellow groupmates. At the end of each 15-week project, students will have gained skills that are applicable to real life and see exactly how the knowledge they have in school are applied in the industry. Now, Joy will show you a prototype of our platform.
Thank you, Haley, for introducing the features of our platform. Now we'd like to show you a prototype of Reducate so you can get a stronger sense of how it feels and what it does. So to start, we have dual login prompts for mentors and students. Since the student is the biggest focus of this product, we'll be walking through the prototype as a student. Clicking sign up takes you to a quick and easy sign up page, and after registering, completing sign up takes you to an application page. We created an application because we have a finite number of funds and mentors, so can only take on so many students at a time. 3 key elements here are: 1, the student's interests. These will be used to help our platform recommend projects that are relevant to the student's academic and personal interests. 2 is the school name and classification. Our goal is to serve low-income students, and an easy but imperfect measure of this is their school classification. A school is considered Title I when 40% or more of its students are considered low income by the government. And 3, an introduction letter or video. This will be used to help us get to know the students better and help them set goals for themselves before starting the program. After applying and getting accepted, students can view their profile page based off of their application or browse available projects. First, let's take a look at the profile. The profile itself is pretty simple, but we hope that in later iterations of the product, all Reducate students and mentors will be able to view each other's profiles like a mini LinkedIn, except the profile and connections are already made for them. Lack of professional networks is a huge setback to low-income and disadvantaged students, so we hope that this will help widen access. Now, if we head over to the Projects tab, students will be shown a list of projects that are tailored to their interests. In this case, our student indicated that he is interested in sports, running, video games, and biology. Students will be able to choose and rank projects by preference. Mentors will undergo a similar ranking process with projects from their company, and Reducate will implement an API that will complete the matching process, similar to the ones used to pair medical school students to residency programs. After submitting, we're taken to the project dashboard. It describes the project again and shows off the team working on the project. Students will be able to view each other's profiles to get to know each other better. The project is broken up into 15 weeks, just like a semester is, because we wanted to follow a format that was familiar to the students. If you click into week 1, you'll see that we continued with this theme by adding learning objectives and breaking the work into assignments. This differs from school in its content. Reducate will provide assignments that are: 1, relevant to the workforce to help students build important skills, and 2, interesting to keep the students engaged. After completing the activities for the week, the student can click on the 3 little in progress dots, and when they return to the project dashboard, they'll be given access to the next week of activities, and their progress bar will update. In the interest of time, we'll be skipping right to week 15, where you can see that we have utilized the assignments to help students explore career paths. After finishing this week, we are taken to the dashboard one last time before submitting our final project. Lastly, the follow-through was really, really important to us. We wanted to make sure that the students would have a feeling of achievement and an opportunity for self-reflection on all the work they've accomplished within those 15 weeks, as well as resources for what to do after completing a project. A congrats message highlights the students' achievements and gives them potential resume bullet points, and also gives them the option to start a new project or explore other career development resources so that they can learn how to market the skills they just gained. That's it for the prototype. Mira will now walk us through the business model.
Thanks, Joy. So for the business model, when it comes to the business model, we're going to be charging the company $1,500 per student. So a company will be interested in paying for our services because, number 1, we help them hit their diversity and social impact goals. Number 2, they get to develop the future generation of the workforce and recruit candidates earlier. The third reason is because they also get to tap into a new generation of knowledge that they might not have had access to previously. So when it comes to the revenue, Reducate will get 90% of the revenue, and then 10% of the revenue will go back to the student as an educational stipend. So for projected revenue at 2,970 users, our projected revenue will be $4.5 million. So for market size, the TAM, the total addressable market, we're looking at about $5.5 billion. The SAMs, the serviceable available market, which would be LA minority students, it'll be $89 million. And for SOM, serviceable obtainable market, which is going to be 5% of the market, it's going to be $4.5 million. And I'm just going to hand it over to Angelina, who's going to do financial projections.
Thank you, Mira. So
what does this market size really mean for us? How does it translate into our financial projections? So we created a 5-year financial projection from 2022, which is when we presume we will begin this product, and then to 2026, which is the 5-year mark. And this essentially captures how we hope to achieve some of the stats that Mira just mentioned. So the first thing that we thought was essential to determine was the revenue stream. We have a product and it needs a price. So we set it at $1,500. So in other words, this is the cost that the corporate company will pay to sponsor the students' participation in the program. Of course, there's a 2 to 3% inflation rate, as there is with all price levels in the economy. Next, when we think about what growth means for us, we really feel like the yearly customer growth lends itself most to rapid and sizable change. So here we assume an 80% yearly growth in customers for the first 3 years through effective and robust marketing, and then a 30% growth for the years following. Likewise, we believe that our marketing costs will hopefully decrease over time as we scale from a small-sized product to a mid-sized product. So for the first 3 years, we expect marketing to take up about 30% of our revenue streams, and then 10% for the years after. So here, the app developer costs, if you look at the breakdown, is relatively fixed. 2 to 3% inflation rate. This is a cost that is almost needed in order to not only bring this product to life, but to ensure that it continues to exist. So this means that a family and friends round of fundraising is absolutely essential to allow us to operate aside from the revenue that we will be generating through the product itself. So notice that we have a contractor cost in there, the admissions contractor. This is essentially our admissions contractor. So this is the person that we hire to admit students through a fair and merit-based process. We will either contract them, or we would want to use an AI-based recruiting software like HireVue that essentially admits students based on analytics of what's on their resume or what's in their interest portfolio and whatnot. So whichever is more economical there is the choice that we make. And so essentially the revenue and the expense snapshots that I've talked about essentially leaves us in the red for the first 2 years, a rapid profit by the 3rd year. So effective fundraising certainly is going to help us turn that red into green. So let's take a look at what this EBITDA really means in the bigger picture. Next slide, please. So essentially over the 5 years, we're seeing an average of about 20% profit margins. That's quite the eye candy for investors, if you ask me. So further, by about the 4th or 5th year of operation, we're at about $100,000 in revenue, which means with added marketing, scale, and customer growth, we're not too far from capturing our 4.5% SOM, as Mira mentioned earlier. So all this being said, the next question is, how do we compare to our competitors? So Srijan is going to give us more insight on that.
Great. So thank you, Anjali. First, I will kind of start with the go-to-market strategy, which will assess us to see how we compare. So first, with the POC, this is kind of essentially the wireframe of what we showed you. And before we started building this proof of concept, we did a quick survey with students in the area and with educators and parents. And 83% of the students, the majority, indicated that they aren't getting a hands-on learning experience and that the problem is that they just don't have it. So that just immediately points to Reducate's ability to make some noise in this area. And with the POC involved with an actual product, we can demonstrate that success and retention in students. 2, we have to move to a more of a marketability standpoint by developing a really nice social media platform to increase the chances of networking with employers. We have to probably place an emphasis on Instagram due to its reach and that too wide to employees and students. 3, moving forward, we have to get employers on our side. And so we have kind of developed a short list of local LA companies that love to do social impact and are known to be involved in the community, who would definitely have this kind of product in their eyes. And we'd like to use our existing marketing channels like social media and even email to develop those relations. Next slide, please. And from there, we go to the competition, because who doesn't love a good competition? On the left, we have Reducate, that's us. We have the 3 categories that we're kind of assessing here. Industry to curriculum connection, individual project matching, which Haley described as the API, and mentoring industry to teach students. So we are a two-way street. And as you can see, we satisfy all three categories. NEPRIS, which is more of a industry to student connection, doesn't satisfy the bottom two. Paragon 1, more of an externship program, satisfies only one. And Trilogy, more of a professional development, none. So we can see that Reducate has some prowess in this area. And now, Anjali, take us to current status.
Alrighty, so now that we know a little bit more about Reducate and what it's all about, it's important to know what our current status is. What have we achieved so far? So as you can see and what you've heard from all our awesome teammates who've talked about before is we have a prototype, we've successfully built one. So that's really the first and most important step towards really bringing this product to life. Secondly, we have a very, very good idea on competitive analysis. So we've really hunkered down and figured out what our competitors are doing, what they're not doing, and how we differentiate ourselves and what leg up that gives us as a product and a company. Apart from that, we also have customer portfolios. Or profiles rather. We figured out who our customer is, which not only narrows down where we go, but it also tells us how we go and approach these customers. And finally, we also have a very good idea of our financial projections, which means not only once we have a budget in hand, we can use that to divvy up resources, but we can also try our best to follow that financial projection so that we achieve our SOM of $4.5 million. So now what this means is we have to know what we're going to do with money and how much money we need, right? So this brings us to our ask, essentially based on our financial projections and our goals in terms of Reducate and what we want to achieve with this product. We ask for $70,000. However, in kind, we ask for your support in jumping on board as the corporate company and participating in beta tests of our product. And this is going to give us insight into what changes we need to make, where, by when. And of course, what the $70,000 is going to go towards, as I mentioned in the financial projections, is one, the app developer fees, which is pretty hefty for us if we want to scale and if we want to scale to a good size. Of course, marketing on various platforms. And then, of course, our admissions contractor fees, which we hope to start by year 3 of operations. But the most important thing is our team. So this is really the focal point of this product. The reason we're all here as a team is because we have a passion. We have a passion for education, and specifically a passion for combining technology and education, which, I mean, what else do you need apart from a team that is so incredibly passionate about a product that they want to bring to life, right? So on our product side, we have Ashley, Joy, and Haley. Ashley is the product owner, and Joy is a product manager, and Haley is a product analyst. All of them, if you notice, have some solid experience in the tutoring space, which also education. So they have a very good grip and understanding of what students need and how students are going to achieve what they want to achieve. Next, we have myself, Mira, and Srijan, who all have some experience in consulting, which allows us to essentially further narrow down our research and development of this product. What changes do we need to make? How are we going to make those changes, and by when? And so if you see from both sides, product and R&D, we have a very solid team of students and entrepreneurs who have a very strong skill set, which is going to only take this product further. Next slide.
And with that concludes Reducate's presentation. Thank you so much for listening and being here. We will now take questions.
Hi, really nice job, everyone. Thank you. My question's really around your marketing plan. So what I heard was Instagram. I heard there's a short list of companies in LA, but what's your plan for bigger and better, if you will, getting to larger companies? And, and I thought it was great that you mentioned that companies do have diversity goals and helping them truly with meeting those diversity goals. So what's your plan because you've got a great plan that you've laid out, but how are you going to get to the larger companies and truly help them and make that happen?
Yeah, excellent question. Joy, if you would mind going to the shortlist slide. So we have, this is kind of 78 companies that we found a short list of. And I think we have to start small. That has to be where we go from here. And when it comes to getting to those bigger markets, it's word of mouth, it's progression, it's growth, it's more students getting involved, it's more companies noticing. And that kind of cerebral kind of word of mouth progression over time is really our main goal at this point, because for us, the impact is the biggest part of the equation. The coronavirus pandemic has disrupted the education industry. We ourselves as college students have been disrupted, and I can't even imagine what high schoolers are going through. So that impact for us is number one, and that's the goal. If we can get that word of mouth to a point where larger companies are, we're garnering that interest, that would be the cherry on the top.
That'd be great. And adding to the resume to the young adults that are looking to get into the business world, really adding to their resume and having something really tangible to put on there. That's great.
Right.
Thank you.
Networking is important, yes.
So this is Kevin Gray. I want to say wonderful job, everyone. Yeah, again, I'm always amazed by what the students are pulling together and just the great work that you all do. As you were presenting, the first question that came to mind for me, and this is a practical one, is why choose the profit route rather than the nonprofit route for this particular app?
So that's an excellent question. Mira kind of did the business model side of these things. And so Mira, if you could take this.
Yeah, thanks, Srijan. We did have a think about nonprofits and a profit company. And the reason why we chose for profit is because we felt like we could actually make a bigger impact. We felt like we could actually generate that revenue and potentially further on to actually have like an exit at the end and potentially sell this to a larger company that could take this further than we could. And that's kind of one of the reasons why we ended up choosing a for-profit model versus the nonprofit model. But mainly it was because of the larger impact that we could have. The thing is with nonprofits, as many of you probably know, nonprofits don't really attract the amount of talent, like the really good talent that for-profits can attract when it comes to employees. They don't attract the type of funding. And so that's also one of the reasons why we wanted to do like a for-profit versus a nonprofit.
I have some comments and some questions. This project is also very dear to my heart. On the nonprofit side, we're actually creating a program like this, and you'd be surprised at how many corporate professionals and executives actually want to be a part of this. And I don't blame you guys for going the profit route, because there's a lot of money in that, in supply diversity. And so I really hope you guys are motivated by this. There's so much good that can come out of this, and there are a lot of kids who really need this kind of mentorship. And I think the age that you guys are thinking is really key, especially as they reach that 18-year-old mark, right? Sorry, I got my. Sorry, can I just finish here? All right, sorry, hold on. My daughter wants to say hi. Hey, say hi. There you are. Here. All right. So I have a question on, well, I have a comment, and this isn't just you guys, it's some of the other presentations too. The numbers you guys are coming with for salaries and costs or whatnot are so low. Like, if there's any one of you students who want to work for software development at that price, please call me. Like, I would I have a job for you. But I'm questioning where you guys are getting the data for compensation, salary, and stuff like that, because they seem really low. And it's not just you; it's the other team too.
Yeah, very valid point. Anjali, she kind of handled. She was a financial guru for this, and so Anjali, if you would take this question.
Sure. And Henry, Google is kind of my best friend. I'm not gonna lie. If you kind of look up, lower end app developer salaries, this is kind of the number that it spits out. Usually, they initially had said 100K, but sometimes some contractors will work for cheaper. And as an economics student and someone who's worked with financial projections before, it's always about going the cheapest way. So that's really where the numbers come from. There's definitely research behind it. So for example, with marketing, that's kind of based off of a collation of Instagram plus Facebook ads and Chegg ads and whatnot. So any platform that charges a fee for advertising, there's like a general idea of how much that would cost per click. And so when you run the numbers on that, this is typically what it spits out. And also, if you look up on Google, it actually says that for small size companies, when you're just starting out, it's about 30% of your revenue goes towards marketing. So that was also kind of the approach behind finding some of these numbers, but definitely it's all based off of what Google says, for sure.
Or you may be thinking of developers that are in the LA market only.
I was thinking in Tijuana, man, for those prices.
Yeah.
Any other questions from?
Yeah, I have one last question on how you came up with the $1,500 to charge the companies per student, and did you speak to any company regarding that price point, and what did they say?
So Anjali, again, this is in your ballpark, if you could take this.
Yeah, sure. So with the pricing strategy, since we don't really have competitors who quite operate on operate in a manner that we're trying to operate in, it was a little bit difficult to find out from a company, hey, what rate are you kind of trying to charge? There's, for example, like Srijan mentioned, there's Paragon One, but that more so operates with or works with students who are not quite in high school, but rather in college or older. So with this, it's kind of just a ballpark. It's also kind of looking at, okay, we have a SOM that we want to achieve. What would be a good number that a corporate will be willing to pay? That's essentially going to allow us to get to that SOM, at some X year. So I'm not going to lie by saying that there was a whole lot of research that went into this, because there's not too many competitors out there to kind of learn from. So this was kind of definitely just a number that we kind of thought of from not only a student's perspective, in terms of, how much does it cost for a 15-week program for an intern, right? I was in a fellowship program. I got paid a $500 stipend from a VC. So, I would hope to earn a little bit more money than that, or I would assume that it costs a little bit more than that to participate in such a program. And also from the corporate side, what would be a good number that they'd be willing to pay per student in order to operate in this program, or to be able to essentially provide them an opportunity that is still robust.
Okay, thank you so much, team EdTech. Great job. We're going to need to move on to our final presentation, Team Cyber Citizens, Smart City Tech.
Great, so I would like to start. Good evening. My name is Eureka, and I wanted to start our presentation tonight by telling you something very personal. I do not feel safe in LA. It's true. I worry when I walk out of class at 6 p.m. and it's suddenly completely dark outside. And since I am not from LA, I'm uncomfortable about turning corners in unfamiliar areas. Even running small errands like running to Target or Ralph's becomes an internal debate. Do I need to get food right now? Is it worth walking out alone when it's dark? And when I'm with friends, I'm still paranoid, clutching my phone to make sure I have quick access to 911, constantly checking my surroundings to make sure I am safe, and checking the map to make sure I'm going in the right direction. Surely, there has to be a better way for me to be confident in exploring the city. That is why our team decided to develop iWalk, a new and innovative smart solution to walking safely. We wanted to create a solution that helps walkers like me feel safe. We believe that nobody should ever have to debate going to the store at night or be paranoid about walking in general ever again. Here are the 8 people that make up the amazing team that I've had the privilege of working with over the last 6 weeks to make this idea a reality. You'll be hearing from each of them over the next few minutes. In the meantime, I want to pass the ball to Jason to discuss some more details of the problem that we want to tackle.
Thank you, Eureka. Her story highlights how widespread the problem of walking alone at night is to the lives of people across the US. Safety. Interviews conducted in 2019 of 1,200 US adults found that 50% of women report that they often or always feel unsafe walking alone at night. Additionally, nearly 4 in 10 Americans fear walking alone at night. Finally, in an iWalk Run survey of UCLA and USC students, 74% of students report that safety is a concern in their daily life, with 49% citing major concerns. As a result, people are turning to technology to become more aware of their surroundings, protect themselves, and to safely reach their destination. Clearly, there is a demand for something to be done about addressing safety while walking. Currently, most existing solutions have tried to address this issue by providing tools to help people prepare for potential dangers. However, they fail to do so because they only address the symptoms of the problem, rely on inadequate safety algorithms, and fail to provide the relevant information that users need to feel safe while they're walking. Here at UCLA, we offer safe rides and self-defense classes, but neither of those solutions do anything to actually make walking safer at night. Other existing apps only offer a reactive solution. Apps like Noonlight only alert your friends after you feel unsafe. There is nothing out there that allows users to feel safe before turning a corner or be completely informed about what it is on their route. That is why we came up with iWalk, an app that leverages public and crowdsourced data to help users feel safer while walking at night. iWalk is an app that we built with these features in mind: flexible personalization with an ear for data privacy, emergency reporting integration for quick access to report incidents to authorities and the general public, real-time safety score algorithm that helps users quickly decide which routes are safest and which are not, and turn-by-turn walking navigation with location and route sharing available to send to your emergency contacts. I'll hand it over to Michelle to discuss why we chose these specific features.
Thanks, Jason. We conducted a survey and shared it with UCLA and USC students. Currently, students take the top 4 precautions: having their phone ready for emergency calls, avoiding alleys and uncrowded streets, notifying friends and family when walking, and jogging or walking fast to a destination. However, these methods still don't allow pedestrians to actively observe the safety conditions around them. With a pedestrian safety app like iWalk, we found that 72% of respondents would likely use it. Some features and information that students want to see on the app included crime areas, safety score, ability to report incidents, ability to alert contacts, and areas with street lighting. Now, Karina will elaborate more on the safety score feature.
Thank you, Michelle. So as seen from the survey results, a safety score was one of the most desired features by users. So I'll be going into a little bit of detail as to how the safety score will be calculated and implemented. The goal of the safety score was to be able to get an objective measure of how safe a route is in order to be able to recommend the best possible route to our users. The 3 criteria we use to determine the safety score is the quality of the street and sidewalk lighting, average crime rates in the area, and crowdsourced incident reports and activity from other app users. We use these 3 criteria as they were indicated on the survey by users as being the most important factors in order for them to feel safe while walking. Users can choose to weigh the importance of these 3 categories differently due to their preferences when they're using the app. So to calculate the safety score itself, we can calculate a score for each of the 3 categories for a specific location specified by latitude and longitude coordinates. We do this by finding the number of streetlights, crime, and user reports and activity within a certain radius of our location and adding up their distances from our location. From there, we see how this measure compares to the measure of other points in the area. So for example, if a location has less streetlights in its vicinity than other streets in the area, then this particular location will have a low lighting score. And as mentioned before, we then weigh these 3 different scores according to the user's preferences to get the safety score itself. And once this is calculated, we can calculate the safety score for an entire block by averaging the safety score of a number of locations along the section of sidewalk. And finally, we can calculate the safety score for an entire route by averaging the safety score of each block that the route covers, weighing these numbers by the length of the block. So we can calculate the safety score of multiple possible paths, and then from there, we would choose a path with the highest score to recommend to our user. And now I'll hand it over to Matt to discuss the technologies used to implement our app.
Thank you, Karina. Taking all of these features into account, we have taken the first steps necessary into making iWalk a reality, creating infrastructure for our service on the front end, back end, and throughout the entirety of our tech stack. Now developing a mobile application that works on both iOS and Android devices, hosted by the Google Cloud Platform. Let's take a look at what features our app has with a quick live demonstration of how it works, pulling up the app on my phone. And if the judges would like to follow along as well with the Expo CLI, they can scan this QR code and see things update in real time. After logging into iWalk with their Google account through Google Cloud's authentication flow, updating the user information into our database, our users have a slew of features at their fingertips to help them feel as safe as possible. The main features that users expressed wanting to feel safe was crime data and lighting data throughout an area. By utilizing the City of LA's GeoHub data, which is made available through us by the ArcGIS API, we're able to harness the Google Cloud Maps platform, providing users a comprehensive and enhanced view on safety data within their neighborhood beyond what is already provided. Before selecting their destination, users can already see data on the map. Everything that you can see within our legend at the top left, as well as the user's current location, has been augmented by us on top of Google Maps' existing mobile map view, utilizing both crowdsourced data from our users and publicly available datasets on the city of Los Angeles. According to a user's preference, they can toggle between displaying different features on the map on or off, depending on what they deem is necessary to feel safe. Using each phone's built-in core location SDK, we will update our user's location in real time throughout our application, providing a seamless navigation experience throughout the city. At any time, users can also notify their contacts via Twilio's messaging API for SMS and SendGrid's email API for email messages, which is connected through our Express.js server if they feel unsafe and want to notify their contacts. Additionally, whenever the user feels a need to report a hazard, they can simply press the report button on the bottom right, which adds a user report to our database and promptly gets added to the map in real time for all users, as you can see here. When embarking onto a route, users can select destinations which are auto-populated with data from the surrounding area using Google Maps autocomplete query feature. Aside from this, users can also store in previously visited or favorite destinations. Let's try going home, for instance. After selecting a path, our servers calls Here's REST Routing API to generate a path from their current location to their destination. Using our algorithm that Karina mentioned earlier to generate a safety score, our server runs data analytics on both our crowdsourced and public data to generate a safety score in real time. When users have embarked on a route, we also keep track of where they have gone through Google Maps geofencing API, updating where most users have traveled throughout Westwood. For a visualization of how we can do this, let's take a look at these colored squares. Whenever a user travels from one square to the next, we trigger our savers to note this within our database. and to track which areas are the most traversed, which is valuable data used to help city officials target important areas to focus on for pedestrians or for local businesses to find optimal store locations for maximum foot traffic. When a user adds a new contact to the list of emergency contacts, our database gets updated in real time with their contacts information. For instance, if I were to put in name, mail@email.com, and phone number, as so, oh, whoops, my bad. And we add a contact to our list, we can see that it is added to my contacts list. Nice. And name is a part of my contacts. Safety and data privacy in mind, we know that our users want to feel as safe as possible. For all of our crowdsourced data within our database, we have taken great care in anonymizing all the publicly available data that iWalk provides. With the data that we are sharing, we have removed all of the ties between the user's profile and the aggregated data totals, ensuring that our users feel safe. More on the anonymization of users, we support anonymous sign-in for users as well if they simply want access to map safety features and routing. After signing in anonymously, as we see here, users have almost all the same features as a regular user, such as viewing the map, reporting a hazard, or sending geotiling data of their location, with the sole exception of not being able to add an emergency contact or notify their contact list. When an anonymous user signs out, all of their profile data is promptly removed from our database as well. If you see here, give it a second. Let's try refreshing. And we can see that the anonymous user up above has been deleted. As you can see, we have taken the first steps to making this a reality and are excited to see what else we have in the future for iWalk.
Just like we've seen from the demo, we have a functioning app with key features. Then who would be using our product? Our user personas are created based on our aggregated survey responses. Brianna is a second-year UCLA student passionate about exploring new and unfamiliar places while staying safe, especially for the sake of her worrying parents back in Michigan. She notices the existing map features don't satisfy her needs and recently has spotted a broken streetlight near her neighborhood. She is determined to find a good resource that can help her to be aware of certain streets. She quickly finds out about iWalk and is happy to find out that the app satisfies her needs of finding different routes based on crime incidents, streetlights, and more. But iWalk isn't just for our targeted groups. Joseph is a 32-year-old retail business owner in Westwood, passionate about keeping a good connection with his customers and looking for his customer safety. Similar to Brianna's frustration, Joseph is not aware of any good resources that determine safer areas and is also concerned about significant proportions of his customers who travel by foot. After the long search and attempts on different apps, he quickly finds that iWalk is easy to use and trustworthy due to its simple interface and the route selection based on the safety score. He is confident to share iWalk with his customers. Just like our personas, iWalk can be used beyond our targeted groups and can be used by anyone.
Thank you, Hannah. Over the next few slides, I will discuss our business model. Initially, our revenue will consist of 3 diversified revenue streams. First, data licensing, followed by sponsored posts, and finally, mobile advertising. So let me explain a little further about what each of these revenue streams means. In terms of data licensing, we plan to sell anonymized, aggregated data to corporate and government entities. Through our conversations with experts, we know that this kind of pedestrian-level, real-time data does not currently exist. In addition, we also know that this same data will be extremely valuable for enterprises and government customers alike. As our user base grows, so too will the value of our data, and we will soon be able to provide real-time street-level information that quickly shows pedestrian conditions, crime patterns, and even road hazards. In terms of that second column, sponsored posts, given that our core customers are pedestrians walking in a local area, we anticipate that local businesses and chains will be extremely interested in advertising to these pedestrians. We expect that businesses like local gyms, grocery stores, and restaurants would be particularly interested in reaching pedestrians currently using the app. While at first we don't expect a high number of sponsored posts, we will continue to add significant resources in marketing in order to develop these sponsor relationships over time. And finally, mobile advertising. As with many mobile apps, we also plan to integrate advertising by using Google AdMob. However, as we integrate more sponsored posts into the app, we will also phase out those mobile ads in order to maintain an optimal user experience. So how big is the market that we're targeting? Given that we're looking at both the advertising and information services industries, we see a combined TAM, that's total addressable market, of nearly 230 billion. Within this TAM, we are looking to enter an available market of over $3 billion, which is comprised of a large mapping advertising industry, as well as the size of traffic information services in LA. Over the next few years, we estimate that we can capture an obtainable market of 500,000 by 2023. Advertising, of course, is a steadily growing industry, while information services is slated to grow rapidly at 14%, as apps and services like our own, like iWalk, continue to provide new opportunities for data to be tracked and sold. And finally, looking at our financials, we estimate profitability by 2024 with just under 20,000 users, as indicated by the dotted green line on the graph on the left. As the number of sponsored posts continue to grow along with the number of users, we expect even better profitability as we devote more time and money into finding these new customers. Our costs will continue to scale as our infrastructure grows with the increasing number of users, of course. By 2026, we estimate $500,000 in sustainable profits. Now, I will hand it back to Michelle to talk about our next steps and our final ask.
In terms of next steps for app development, we want to focus on 4 main things. Integrating a safety score for routing, as we saw it was a highly desired feature from our survey. Developing a function to report an incident, adding turn-by-turn navigation, and adding more detail and security to individual profile data. All in all, we need about $600,000 to sustain our first 36 months of development. These funds will contribute directly to help make walkers feel safe and improve the quality of and accessibility to pedestrian data. By our 3rd year, we'll expect to be sustainably profitable and achieve a positive cash flow. Thank you. Now we welcome any questions.
I just want to say I really appreciated, enjoyed your presentation. I think it's a very practical issue to deal with. I think a lot of people deal with that, men as well as women, but perhaps women a little bit more. I know my wife gets concerned a little more than I do going out at night. I guess I was wondering, in terms of your service and price, you talked about offering it $1 per user. I was wondering if you gave any consideration to maybe offering a higher level of service with perhaps some other features.
Yeah, let me tackle that. I think Matt just flipped to the right slide there. So I wanted to be clear, actually. We weren't planning on charging any users for any of the features in the app. So that $1 per user is actually the price that we're licensing the data out for. And that number was determined based off of a comparable. So we looked at Twitter, for example, who licenses their data, and their average cost is about $2.73. So just under $3. And obviously at the very beginning, our data is not going to be anywhere near as valuable as Twitter's. So that's why we brought that price down. But ultimately, to answer your direct question, by the way, once we add more and more premium features, ultimately the goal is to make pedestrians feel safe, right? And we want more and more users to use the app. And so we don't see any reason right now to gate those premium features, whatever they may be in the future, behind any sort of price wall.
This is Kevin. So just a few things that I want to say. First of all, highly impressed with your use of ArcGIS, the API. And by the way, I'm probably going to be looking for a land and facilities product owner sometime here in the near future that knows and understands GIS. But anyway, I was also impressed by the high fidelity prototype that you guys have. And I have to say, super impressed with, the most deep, well-defined personas that you guys actually put together. Now, I do have a question. You mentioned that those personas were put together from your survey data. Did you happen to interview anyone also?
Yes, thank you for the question. I can actually take over that question. So on top of the survey responses, we also incorporated our personal experiences of having conversation with the real life professionals, as well as people who are working in the industry. So we did not directly have the interview, but based on our personal conversation with like all of those working professionals, we were able to come up with the second persona, which is the business owner, and that we were thinking what kind of person would use this app, and ultimately we came up, just like I said, the second persona that goes beyond our targeted groups.
Thank you.
Very impressed with the level of detail you guys put into this presentation. It really shines through, very well thought out. I did have a question on, you put up a graphic that showed the number of businesses that would have to, I guess, subscribe or buy the data from you to be profitable. And it looked like it was a significant amount. So over 40,000 small businesses. So I'm just curious if you've thought out the strategy in terms of getting them on board to buy the data from you versus the Twitters or whoever else, you know, in the market they may be able to get that data from.
Yeah, I can tackle that. I think that's obviously the question of the century for us, is making sure that we can get the customers that we need. In terms of who we're competing with, like I said, I think the pedestrian level real-time data is not really out there right now. And in that sense, we offer a unique product right now. And so for that, given that context, as we move out to try to gain more users and more customers, we want to leverage using previous examples and showing real world applications of this data. So for example, a security company like ADT might be really interested in having this pedestrian data. And we would try to put together an actual real-time package to understand, to show them really what can you do with this data? Why is it so important? Hopefully at the start, that approach will land us a few large customers, and from there we can continue to grow.
This is really well put together. The numbers feel right. A lot of the research feels right. I mean, I really applaud you guys. This is ready to go to VCs. I really feel like you guys are ready for it. Have you guys thought of like partnerships? You know, partnerships that could really help with advertising, help with data sharing. I feel like there's a whole ecosystem here that you guys could build.
Yeah, I'll tackle that one again. I love the business questions, obviously. No, we were actually very much thinking about the partnerships and that ecosystem idea. And I think a lot of these logos that you see that we've put on here, we've put them under sponsored posts or data licensing. On the other hand, we'd be completely open to having a strategic partnership with these kinds of users, where, for example, my example was ADT, a security company who would be really interested in leveraging our data. We would definitely be interested in having a strategic partnership where they could use our data and we could use their resources to directly connect pedestrians with emergency services as needed. So that's definitely a huge potential possibility there. It's just certainly not something that we've fully fleshed out yet, but it's definitely an option that we've discussed.
Yeah, like partnerships with Bird too, you know, like Bird, Neighbor, right? I mean, this is pretty cool, the kind of data that you guys are thinking about. I really wish you guys would take this and run with it.
Are there any other questions from the judges? All right. If not, thank you so much, Team Cyber Citizens. Great presentation. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a 10-15 minute break. In the meantime, the judges will be deliberating in a breakout room. So I'm gonna be opening up the room for the judges, and then the rest of you just get a snack, coffee, tea, dinner, late dinner. And we'll be back in 10-15 minutes to announce the winner and the closing remarks. All right, thanks. So I'll open up the breakout room for the judges now. Teams, you all did a fantastic job. I mean, this is, you know, we had our first bootcamp in 2018, and when I see the perfection and the quality of your solutions and what you've built, you know, since 2018 and to today, it's like night and day. I mean, I see the progress in how the students are really going above and beyond. And when we started the kind of this format of bootcamps, most of the teams were building mock-ups, but now I'm seeing students building an actual solution, full stack solutions end to end, and which is awesome, which is great. I mean, this is, and also incorporating nice UI and an actual solution. So congratulations to all of you. Really made I mean, this is just awesome. It's fantastic. And I was blown away with all the demos, all the presentations on time. It just was awesome. So the judges deliberated and thought that the winning team is Smart City Team, Cyber Citizens, Smart City Tech Team. Cyber Citizens is the winning team. They built a solution end to end with high quality UI. So congratulations to Cyber Citizens. I'm gonna kind of work with the planning committee to see what kind of, maybe we can do a tour of JPL. Maybe Jim, maybe we can do a tour of JPL in the fall. That I think that will be a nice bonus. All the students will get a certificate of participation. It's kind of like you can add to your portfolio. And I already have 4 students who are going to be joining us in the planning committee for the next fall, which will start after July 4th weekend for the fall, and probably going to be hybrid. So and for those attendees who would like to help out with being a coach, speaker, or session expert, please reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. So thank you so much, and I'd like to pass it on to Jim Rinaldi for final remarks, our executive director, former CIO of JPL.
Yes, hi everyone, and I'm hoping I get to have my own tour of my office again at JPL. I haven't seen it in quite some time, but thank you all so much. I want to thank the judges. I want to thank the students especially. I want to thank the coaches. I think that this was a wonderful event, and I also want to thank Rafi. Rafi has the passion, the desire, the vision to make this work, and he's like a one-man show in pulling all this together. So thank you, Rafi, for the excellent work you do. I'd like to also thank all the guests who joined us and really appreciate you joining us. I think this is one of the values of Innovate at UCLA is we get this wonderful UCLA connection, and the fact that the students represent this university so well, and they make us very proud to be a part of all of this. I do want to say that watching all 4 presentations tonight, it was kind of funny. I need iWatch. I like to be a mentor, so Reducate is a good one. I probably need to know how to compost. That's not first on my mind, but I probably should. And so you make me feel guilty. And Medipal, unfortunately, I really need. So these were all solutions that I could identify with and think that the students just did a marvelous job. With that said, I'll turn it back to Rafi, and thank you again. And with Henry, it's great to see Nyla, and it's great seeing all of you. And hopefully you'll continue to support Innovate at UCLA. Come to some more of our events. I would like to invite our Gartner friends and others to please work with us, and we can together continue to create great events and great things in the future. So with that, Rafi, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim. Jim Davis, would you like to say some final remarks? Our Vice Provost, Jim Davis.
Well, I wasn't expecting that. It's actually been quite a pleasure just to sit and listen to all the presentations this time instead of judging them. Jim, I appreciate your comments. So I'm just echoing what you were saying. And I have to admit that not judging and just being able to sit back and listen to the presentations, it's remarkable. This is a great program. Rafi, thank you. Thanks to the judges, and thanks to all the presenters. We keep this program is just fantastic, and this is another round that is fantastic, and we'll take it forward. So Rafi, thanks. Jim, thanks.
Thanks a lot, Jim. All right, everyone. We finished on time, actually, 5 minutes early. Thank you so much. We will edit the recording and we will post it on our website. So thank you again. Have a good night, everyone, and we'll see you in the fall.
Thank you, everyone. And,
Bye,
and
everybody.
any of the groups here that's really serious about moving forward with these projects, any of those projects, please contact me. I'd love to see what I can do to help out with that.
Yeah, please contact me so I can connect you with Henry. So yeah, so yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you so much.